Hello people, I'm Tim Ulmer and I'm your host for Epilepsy Gangster. Now, I have been a bitter enemy of Epilepsy Gangster since he caused my first seizure when I was 2 years old, and I'm 60 now. Epilepsy Gangster is like all criminals in the fact that their biggest fear is when people are informed and knowledgeable about them. So my strongest weapon is to acquaint you with members of my gang who are living happy, productive, and socially active lives despite the fact that they have epilepsy, but epilepsy does not have them. If this is your first time, please subscribe and leave a like, and in the meantime, let the show begin. The Epilepsy Gangster came to Philip Haydon following a brain injury when he was just a teenager. It turns out that it made it difficult for him to complete high school, but his seizures fostered an ambition to become an epileptologist and later a medical professor. And my fascination with the man does not end with those achievements. He's become an international advocate by sailing his yacht in races and events for over 55,000 miles, making people aware of epilepsy and the fact that it's much more common than they realized. With me today, ladies and gentlemen, is a marvelous individual, Dr. Philip Haydon. Not only is he an epileptologist, but he is an epileptic survivor and one of the most impressive advocates I've ever met. Phil, thank you for joining us.
Tim, it's a pleasure to be here. I hope I can live up to that billing.
To begin with, tell us a little bit about how your epilepsy began.
Yeah, my epilepsy occurred out of the blue when I was 15 years of age. I was riding home from school, last day before summer vacations, and someone threw a house brick and it hit me in the forehead.
A brick in the head?
A brick in the head. And within 1 hour, I was having tonic-clonic seizures. I was rushed to Oxford University Hospital, and they had to remove a 2-inch piece of skull in my forehead. And I went for a year without skull. After that, they put in an alloy wire mesh that allowed the bone to grow back. But yeah, that's how I developed epilepsy.
People are able to live without skull?
Yeah, you can live without skull. That's not a problem, other than skull's there to protect your brain. So as a teenager, I had to walk around for a year and be careful that I didn't damage my brain.
What did your family think of the consequences of you becoming epileptic?
Yeah, it was honestly at the time I didn't really realize what it was, other than I'd have seizures, and I think I was lucky in that a big deal wasn't made of it, and everybody at school knew about it, so I didn't have to decide whether to tell people I had epilepsy. They all knew, but I had to be very careful about not damaging my brain. But, I'm a teenager, and what do teenagers like to do? Well, I grew up in England, and in the summer, teenagers, we like to play cricket. But my parents were incredibly supportive and really helped me through this. So they bought me an ice hockey helmet, so it came to about here, and the hole in my head was up here, and it protected my brain. And we also changed the rules of the game. There could be no fastballs. Not just for me, but for everybody who was playing. So it meant the rules were the same for everybody. It wasn't that, Phil's different. No, we all had no fastballs. So I was able to play on a level playing field. And I think this is really something that was important, was that, my mates, they didn't hold anything against me. So it's okay, we can go out, we're going to play cricket just like we would normally. And I give my parents a lot of credit for I'm sure it was a real challenge for them to deal with this, but they were strong and they sort of showed me ways of moving forward.
Do you believe the majority of parental caregivers nowadays are as open and supportive as your parents were?
I do think in general, we really want to, I say, wrap our kids in bubble wrap and really protect them, which is understandable. But, one thing I like to try to do now is talk about what happened with me and challenge parents to say, can you remove a little of that bubble wrap? And if you do, what are the safety measures you're going to put in place? I'll give one example of a young lady who wanted to go into a sailing camp, and she had active epilepsy. She talked to her mother, and her mother said no. She talked to her mother said no. And then eventually her mother was worn down and said yes. Well, the reason she said yes was the sailing camp had safety measures in place. It was a camp just for people with epilepsy. It was special boats. They had life vests. They had a support powerboat with EMTs on. And if someone had a seizure, they're not going to fall in the water and they could be cared for. And this girl went through a whole week sailing camp. And she actually did have a seizure while she was sailing once. But she was fine. The safety measures were there. At the end of the week, the daughter said to her mom, "Mom, you're the best mom in the whole world. Thank you." And I think it meant a lot, not only for the kid, but the mother, and taught the mother something. And I know the mother now talks about this example to other people. And I think it's a shining example of how caregivers in epilepsy can look at themselves and say, what can I do to help the individual with epilepsy live a fuller life with safety guardrails in place?
Because of your epilepsy beginning when you're 15, I've got a 15-year-old daughter, and sophomore in high school is the time when a lot of kids are starting to make plans for careers. Did epilepsy have something to do with your becoming a doctor and an epileptologist?
Eventually, yes. Initially in high school, my goal was trying to get the grades. At that time, the medications weren't as advanced as they are today. And I was taking phenobarbital, which, as many of you know, is a medication that makes you very drowsy and sleepy. So my challenge was actually just getting through the day at school and trying to remember things. So my challenge was I wanted to succeed, but I had a lot of problems remembering facts. So history was a real challenge, but things like biology, physics, there was more intuition, and I could get into those topics. So I excelled in the sciences and less so in the arts. So I failed half of my high school classes, passed half, and I just scraped through the grades to get to university. There I studied physiology. Physiology is the control of the body, and there I started to pick up the brain. And I became fascinated. How does the brain work? And even more fascinated by how is it the brain suddenly takes control of me and causes me to have a seizure? So I have auras with my seizure. And when the aura's happening, I'm trying everything consciously possible to stop that seizure. But the brain's taken over. And I became fascinated by trying to understand how the networks of neurons in the brain control our behavior. And in my case, what causes a tonic-clonic seizure. So I went on and really specialized in neuroscience, and that's where my career has been based.
Please tell us how you began with sailing for epilepsy. I need to take a break from our interview for just a moment to talk about a very earth-shattering day several years ago when actor Cameron Boyce died of SUDEP. That stands for Sudden Unexpected Death by Epilepsy. It's something that most people had never heard of, myself included. The Danny Did Foundation is a world leader in educating people about SUDEP and what steps can be taken to reduce the risk. This foundation was started after the tragic loss of 4-year-old Danny Stanton, who passed away from SUDEP just days before his 5th birthday. Danny's parents, Mike and Mary Ann, started the Danny Did Foundation to spread awareness and empower those with epilepsy so they can go out and enjoy their lives just like Danny did. I must say that I'm very emphatic that you please visit the Danny Did Foundation website to learn more, because SUDEP is something that can claim anybody. Let's return to our interview. Please tell us how you began with Sailing for Epilepsy.
Yeah, so Sail for Epilepsy is an organization where I decided I wanted to give back to the community. If I can't talk about epilepsy as a doctor, someone with epilepsy, who can? So it's important I speak out. So I decided, actually, I was in hospital recovering from an allergic reaction to one of my anticonvulsants, phenytoin. And I decided it's time to do something. I put together a concept, which was loose, but the idea was I want to try and inspire people with epilepsy to live fuller lives.
What's not to like about this one?
I also want to educate people.
Sunshine.
Because I know when I was young with epilepsy, nobody around me knew what it was. Honestly, I didn't really understand it. So I thought maybe because I'm a scientist, I can educate. So I set up essentially inspiration and education. So the inspiration part, I challenge people I say, is there something you can do to live a fuller life? So what I do is I go sailing and I try and use my strategies of overcoming challenges as an inspiration tool. And then what's happened is people pick this up and do their own challenges. But the second part is education. So I go to Rotary clubs and I give presentations at Rotary clubs and I say, sailing is the hook, epilepsy is the message. So I give a lovely video, sailing offshore, water flying around. But then I explain about epilepsy. And as a professor and an educator, I give a little multiple choice question. And it's, how many people will develop epilepsy in their lifetime? And people, 1 in 25,000, 1 in 2,500. 2,500 is about the optimum number that people guess. When you get down to, 1 in 26, they're staggered. Then I ask how many will have at least one seizure and say 1 in 10. Then people's jaws drop. They have no idea. So I also then will educate about epilepsy first aid. And the most wonderful thing in these presentations is somebody always says, I have a connection to epilepsy, and they start telling their personal story. Then on occasions, others will tell their story. Now it becomes a discussion amongst the peers within the organization. That's a success. And, I give out materials, first aid cards, and I ask them, let's say there was 50 people. I give them 5 cards. So I say, keep one for yourself. Now talk to 4 other people. And by amplifying the message, we would have got a message to 200 people. So let's get out, let's talk about it. Yes, it's a disorder, but it's okay. People with epilepsy are normal people. We just have altered electrical activity in our brain. And understand it. Don't be scared of it. Just be ready to help.
Tell me how many miles you have sailed.
I have sailed about 50,000 nautical miles. Yeah.
Ooh.
I've sailed across the Atlantic Ocean. We did a passage from Fort Lauderdale to the Azores and on to Portugal. And every day I had satellite communications and I was giving messages about epilepsy. I would feature people and their own stories if they'd given permission. We have something called the One More Step Challenge, in which people sign up for the one more step and they explain what they're going to do and then they report back.
And we're challenging people. Take an extra step. My one more step is I sail the oceans of the world. What will your one more step be? And on our website, we have something called Shipmates. You can sign up and say, you can be anonymous or you can put your name, you can put your city, you can say, how are you going to take one more step? And then pin your location on the map. And so what we're trying to do is see how many countries and people we can get to come on and be shipmates, virtual shipmates in our journey.
We have people in 22 countries, 38 states, over 650 people who signed up. When they sign up, they become a virtual shipmate. I have their names on the hull of the boat, and I showcase them. There was one time I showcased Taylor from South Africa. He was trying to learn to play the drums, so we made a video about him. The video was put up on YouTube and social media. Then when I ended getting back, I'm waiting on the boat to clear immigration, and there's a response from his mother, where the mother and Tyler had made their little video to send back to me, because I'd ask questions, what music do you like, so on, and it ended up with this sort of public conversation. And the idea is, let's share our stories. Let's help one another. There are days that are tough, but let's try and overcome those days and do things to live a full life. So that's our One More Step challenge, which is really quite a wonderful thing to be involved in.
How you got into sailing?
So I got into sailing in 2007, but it was because of really a gap in my life. When I was a teenager, I used to competitively whitewater kayak. Then I had a head injury, I had tonic-clonic seizures, and that was something I couldn't do. There was no safety measure I could put in place to allow that to happen. Then, I started a career, I have a family, and there's only so much you can do. So it wasn't until 2007 when my kids are going to college, it's like, I want to get back to the water, but I want to get back to the water in a safer way than in a kayaking whitewater. So I go on to, sailboats where I can be tied onto the boat, so I can't fall overboard, and I can have safety measures there. So I started learning to sail, and then I became actually a competitive racer, and I now do lots of races, coastal races, even races from Newport to Bermuda.
What one final message do you have for people in the epileptic community?
I probably would like to share two words if I can. One is resilience, and the other is challenge. And they're sort of almost opposite sides of an important coin. So in people with this, with epilepsy, this is, a spectrum in this disorder. There are good days and bad days. And there are some days where it's you're really down. You're facing lots of adversity. And these are days where you really have to be resilient. And what I learned in my early days with epilepsy was, and my grandmother actually taught me this, and it was get through the day, tomorrow's another day, and be resilient. And she actually used an expression that it is an important one I try to teach, is I can and I will. So what she, we're going back decades now, and she'd have little self-help magazines, and she cut out I can and I will, and it was taped to the refrigerator. And still to this day, my brothers and my uncle, we message one another something, a challenge is going on, people are facing, trying to be resilient, and we put in the message, I can and I will. But then, that next day, things are, let's say, going better, is now challenge yourself. How can you challenge yourself to do more? And this is the heart of our One More Step challenge. Despite having adversity and having to face with resilience, is there something you can challenge yourself to do so you live a fuller life? And so we have people, 22 countries, 38 states, who have done this One More Step challenge. And the challenge is very diverse. One person wanted to walk a city block on their own. So they're in consultation with a neurologist. They decided next time they went to the neurology visit, they'd walk the last city block to the hospital on one side of the road. Their partner would be on the other side of the road. So they had their safety net in place, their guardrail. So if they had a seizure, somebody was there. They're across the road. But they walked that city block on their own. So it's all about finding, what can I do? How can I put safety guardrails in place to allow me to attempt to achieve my goal? Attempt is very important. Set a goal and attempt. You may not achieve it, but that's okay. What's important is you're attempting your goal.
Well, Captain Haydon, we sure appreciate your time and encouragement here. We're so relieved to have you in the epileptic community.
Tim, it's my pleasure, and I hope together we can be a voice for people with epilepsy, and let's get rid of stigma.
Thank you very much.
The Defeating Epilepsy Foundation is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping those battling epilepsy. We provide advocacy and educational services to those battling epilepsy at a global level. For more information about our projects and services, please visit our website at www.defeatingepilepsy.org or email us at info@defeatingepilepsy.org. Please like us on social media and follow us so you can see how we are making a difference. Thank you for your support, and together we will defeat epilepsy.
Hi, I am Natalie Beavers, and I am one of the many survivors living with epilepsy. My life has been filled with many ups and downs. It's just a part of life. I am proud of the person that I am becoming, and as I stand in the face of this relentless disorder called epilepsy, I want you all to know that I am me.
Epilepsy Gangster, look at those waves coming in. They're gonna wash you away. And for the rest of you, may you be seizure-free and God bless.